having some extra time, especially now with this system down there. I know you guys are already busy. So
Yeah,
if
I
you're
told
looking,
Dennis, let's keep opening it up because we just appreciate y'all doing these too, just to kind of keep getting the word out. So it's great.
yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, hey, then why don't we just start off, talk a little bit about the system down there in the Florida Straits, and what could we be looking at over the next 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, it looks like we're getting an early start to things with this system that we've been really trying to tracking it real close. I mean, trying to see what's going to be developing and what's not going to be developing. But so far, I mean, you're going to have some impacts associated with some winds. You're going to have some rainfall in the Bahamas and also portions of the southern portion of Florida and the Keys as well. So that's been really the big thing, just really looking at those impacts. But what a reminder, even before we get to the start of the season, that preparedness is everything, right? You get an early start like this, it's time to be prepared.
We're looking at, this obviously developing in May. Is this any sort of indicator of the season that we're going to have? Should we look at that way or no?
Yeah, there's never a tie to early starts versus how busy the season is. We go back and look at the history of that. No real ties to that whatsoever. And it's interesting, even a busy season really isn't a forecast for landfall by any means. I mean, it just really just points to just an active season and the preparedness part of this. And I look at this storm even for my own personal plans. It's like, wow, what a reminder. We definitely got to get things ready, and kind of talked to the family last night about that, just having things prepared for us for the whole season.
Yeah, we typically look at June 1st, and we get all excited about this calendar date that humans have set. But really, it's no more of a marker for, before or after. We need to be prepared, and we need to be ready for the entire season. Talking about the entire season coming up here, what are some things you talked about preparations? What are some things that people should be doing now, or at least over the next couple of weeks to maybe even couple of months to get ready for the upcoming season?
Yeah, the time is now to start really looking at your plans. I mean, step one is to know your risk. If you're one of those in those evacuation zones right along the coast, you got to listen to those local officials. Have a place to go. Have all that in the plan ahead of time. So once you know your risk, I mean, it's walking around your house. It's like, what trees do I have that might fall on my house? So, what kind of projectiles could happen, things in my yard. It's those type of things. Examine that risk and mitigate that risk by having a plan. Talk about what you need to do ahead of time. Are you in an evacuation zone? Make sure you're going to leave. Where would you go? And the other big reminder here that I think is so important, it's not just along the coast, it's well inland as well, that we've talked about as well, because you can get that inland rain, you can get dangerous flooding associated with rivers. All those different factors have to be looked at when you start determining your risk.
In terms of the, you look at your coastal threats, obviously that's your immediate thought. You talked about the inland threats. Is there anything that you want to really highlight that people can do? Maybe, I guess you kind of mentioned on a couple of the preparation stuff around the house. What are some community things that people can do right now to get their communities ready?
I think to get the communities ready, I mean, one of the themes that we had for Hurricane Awareness Week was help your neighbor. And I think with everything going on, that rings true more than ever. I think it's really just helping your neighbor and making sure that everybody is thinking about a plan. Everybody has a place to go. And here's a statistic that's brand new. This is one of the things I was going to really hit hard this year in the conferences. But now we're doing it virtually. But it's about the vulnerable population, and it's an interesting statistic as we've gone back in time that if you're over 60 years old, you're 8 times more likely to lose your life in a hurricane than if you're under 20 years old. That's staggering. Those are just the facts that we looked up. So it's helping each other out, checking on each other, looking at ways to help each other, not just have a plan. If you get 5 cans of food delivered, maybe you get 6 to put one of those cans of food away in your hurricane plan, for the plan, and then have it in the pile for the supplies. That's the kind of stuff that we can talk about, just helping each other out, share. If you have questions, I think the biggest thing too is ask somebody.
Ken, you kind of hinted at it, and you can't ignore coronavirus and how that's changed the way that we prepare, or maybe the way that we talk to our neighbors about preparation. What are some of the things that you guys are recommending people prepare for hurricane season in light of coronavirus, and maybe some things to consider as they start putting their kits together?
I think the message so far is, those hurricane risks haven't changed. So if you're in that area that's vulnerable to storm surge, then you listen to those local officials. If they tell you have to leave, you definitely got to leave. So what we've been telling people is think about where you're going to make sure you can still have that social distancing and where you go. You might have to add a few things to your supply kit that we didn't have before. Is it a mask or is it some hand sanitizer or whatever it may be? But the other one to me is preparing early, because we don't want to be part of that big rush to get all the items. So start early. I'm doing it at home myself. We're getting an extra can of food here and there with deliveries, and that way we can have it in the supply pile. So that's the type of stuff we can start doing. I think the key message here is you got to start early. More than ever, you got to start your personal planning and your action plan early, and that's so key to preparedness.
Yeah, hurricane season doesn't really care that we've got a pandemic going on right now. We've got to be ready for it. One thing, no doubt you guys are always at the front lines of the forecast and, giving us the information, both the media and the public, about what to expect and the conditions that we have out there. How are you guys prepared differently, given a lot of the work at home guidelines, or maybe not so much for you guys? How are you guys prepared?
Yeah, we're listening to those guidelines. We're doing social distancing in the office, and it may be, pushing a workstation a little further away from another workstation, those type of things. We're doing everything we can to keep the social distancing. We've had some people working from home, definitely heeding that advice. But for a hurricane, I think the big takeaway here is we're doing everything we can here to keep everybody safe, because you're going to need us in a hurricane. We want to be there for our mission to get the watches and warnings out and the forecasts out like we normally would. And I just want to assure everybody that's watching, we're going to be here for everybody for if we get a hurricane. Looking at a busy season, so we want to make sure everybody's here is healthy and ready to go and ready to serve.
That's important, and we definitely count on you guys for all that information. So that's excellent to hear that you guys are ready to go and doing what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think you said it. I mean, it's hurricane season. We can't stop it, and we just got to be ready for it. And I think something that's so important to me is if you have that plan, it's less stressful. I mean, if you're starting to plan while there's a hurricane threat, it is such a stressful situation. So I just can't say it enough to everybody watching. Just plan early, have that plan, review the plan, practice your plan, and you don't always have 7 to 10 days notice. If you have a Hurricane Florence, you might get a good 10 days to watch it come in. But remember, Michael was only 3 or 4 days. So you got to be ready to really put that plan into play pretty quickly.
Yeah, things ramp up quickly. There's a lot that you have to do that you can't do now. So the things that you can do now, it's important to get that taken care of.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, Ken. Well, sir, I appreciate the time. I'll let
you. Hope that helps. Yeah, we'll see what happens. If you need us through the season, definitely holler.
I will do, Ken. I really appreciate it. And you guys, good luck. Have a good season. And
thank you.
Stay healthy.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now.